Welcome! Today we're setting sail for the fjords of 1958 to explore The Vikings. Not just a movie, but a cinematic obsession brought to life by one of Hollywood's toughest stars. This isn't merely a swashbuckler, it's a foundational text for every Viking epic that followed, from The 13th Warrior to Vikings and The Last Kingdom. But how did it get made, and what made it so groundbreaking? The story begins with Kirk Douglas. Fresh off the success of Paths of Glory, Douglas wasn't just an actor here. He was the driving force. He optioned the novel by Edison Marshall, personally hired director Richard Fleischer, and through his production company, Bryna Productions, he championed the project with relentless passion. Douglas was fascinated by Norse history. This was his pet project, and he ensured it would be authentic, brutal, and grand. Authenticity came at a price. The budget was a hefty $3.5 million, equivalent to over $35 million today. A significant portion was spent on an unprecedented endeavor, building full-scale, seaworthy Viking longships. Not models, but actual ships constructed using 9th century methods. These vessels, including the majestic Hugin, were then sailed across the North Sea from Norway to France for filming. It was a logistical marvel. The production was a global affair. Exterior scenes, those breathtaking fjord vistas, were shot on location in Norway, a rarity for a Hollywood epic at the time. The castle siege and village scenes were filmed in Brittany, France, at Fort La Lotte. Cinematographer Jack Cardiff, a master of color, used the natural, often gloomy, light of the north to create a stark, atmospheric look that felt miles away from the glossy, studio-bound epics of the era. The cast was a star-studded affair. Kirk Douglas played the fierce Einar, Tony Curtis was the enslaved Eric, and Janet Leigh was the captured Princess Morgana. Ernest Borgnine delivered a roaring performance as their father, Ragnar. The chemistry, particularly the rivalry between Douglas and Curtis, was electric, fueled by reported tensions off-camera that translated perfectly to screen. But this authenticity had a physical cost. The action was notoriously dangerous. In the famous sword fight on the longships, Tony Curtis accidentally sliced Kirk Douglas's cheek, requiring stitches. Douglas, ever the professional, insisted the scar be written into the film. In another scene, a stuntman actually drowned during a sequence in the turbulent waters, a tragic reminder of the perils of practical filmmaking. The film's approach to Norse culture was surprisingly thoughtful for its time. It incorporated elements of mythology, like the references to Odin and Valhalla. The costuming, overseen by Dorothy Jeekins, was based on historical research, favoring leather and wool over horned helmets, a myth the film wisely avoided. The celebrated score by Mario Nascimbene even used authentic Norse instruments to create its haunting themes. So was the risk worth it at the box office? Absolutely. The Vikings was a major hit. It premiered in June 1958 and went on to gross approximately $6.2 million in North American rentals alone. Globally, its earnings were even more impressive, placing it among the top 10 highest-grossing films of the year. For Kirk Douglas and United Artists, it was a financial and critical validation. The film's legacy is immense. It established the visual and tonal language for Viking narratives. The gritty violence, the focus on brotherhood and betrayal, the majestic longships cutting through fog. It proved historical epics could be shot on real locations with a sense of visceral realism. Directors like Robert Rodriguez and showrunners like Michael Hurst have cited it as a key influence. Beyond the spectacle, The Vikings works because of its primal story. It's a Shakespearean tragedy of two brothers, one noble, one enslaved, unaware of their shared blood, competing for power and a woman. The final confrontation on the rocky cliffs is a masterpiece of suspense and tragic inevitability, elevated by the raw performances and Fleischer's taut direction. In retrospect, The Vikings stands as a testament to star-driven, ambitious filmmaking. Kirk Douglas put his reputation, his company, and his body on the line to create something lasting. It's a film where you can feel the wind, the cold water, and the weight of the axes. It set a standard for historical action that few films have matched in sheer tactile authenticity. From its perilous production to its cultural footprint, The Vikings is more than a classic. It's a cinematic artifact of a bygone era of Hollywood ambition. It reminds us that the greatest epics are often born from a singular vision and a willingness to brave the storm both on screen and off. Thanks for watching.